providing live finance advice on WMAC since 1993. It's time for Your Money with Steve Rosenberg, Sherri Goss, and Randy Goss. To participate in today's program, call 478-742-0940 with your financial questions or comments. And now live from the Macon studios of News Talk 940 WMAC, it's Your Money.
Good morning, Little Georgia. Randy and Sherri Goss here with Rosenberg Financial Group.
Good morning.
If you want to know more about us, go to our website, retirerelax.com. Tons of free reports. And life book pages are there, so you can work through all your estate planning issues. It might be a little early in the morning to think about that.
And if you are just totally bored to tears and you want to hear us again, we have our podcast on there that
on our website.
On the website. So just look for it. You'll find it. It's pretty easy. We don't junk up the website with a bunch of needless stuff like our podcast.
And if you have nothing to do today and you don't mind being in 100-degree weather, there's a festival setting up on 2nd Street between Poplar and Cherry. And It's an arts festival.
Yeah. And we've got some information on that. There's a really cool thing going on. It's put on by the Okmulgee Artists Guild, and it's free. And it's at 391 2nd Street, which is basically across the street from Cox Capitol Theater. And we walked by there this morning, and we know the gentleman who's putting that on, and it looks fantastic on the inside. It's art from 15 different guild artists, and you can look at all that downstairs, and then you can go upstairs to a really fascinating thing that he's got going, and they're going to basically graffiti the walls upstairs.
See, this is crazy because somebody just bought that building.
Well,
so somehow they got permission from this owner to just go in and do this stuff. And I guess it doesn't matter; they'll just paint over it.
Or it's got paper on the walls where it's totally removable. I don't know.
So are we going to go by and spray paint on the way home?
I would like to.
Okay.
So, Colin, if you're listening, drag yourself out of bed and have those doors unlocked at about 10 o'clock.
There we go.
So, let's see. That's going to be on 391 2nd Street, and let's see here. It's an open air market, which.
What is that about? Why is the open air market happening?
It's just a way to draw people to see some nice things to maybe purchase.
Okay.
And that's from 10 to 3, and then
is the air conditioner on?
And no, it doesn't feel like the air conditioner's on here. And then there's a bar crawl, which is going to be really pretty cool. One of the things that they're calling this thing Euphoria, and this is the lighter side of dysphoria. You know, dysphoria is the darker side, and they have an event called Dysphoria, which is around Halloween. It's the dark, ominous, and a bit manic and a little creepy, is what he says.
You have to bite a head off a bat.
I don't know, but that's kind of a cool thing. We're going to take nominations for Sherri to be the person to bite the head off the bat.
No, I couldn't do it.
Okay, but anyway, this is Euphoria. It's very light.
No amount of money would allow me to enable me to do that.
Me either. You'd have to be like part of KISS or something like that.
I could hold a bat.
Which you have before.
Not in my hands.
Oh, you didn't hold the bat?
Nope.
That you took to school?
Nope.
No, okay. So, held it with some kitchen tongs.
No, I had the scoop out of the pool. I scooped it out of the swimming pool into a cardboard box and immediately shut the top.
Okay. Anyway, this is going to be a great event, and Piedmont Brewing is going to provide the food and the drinks.
Wow.
And we have another little PSA here for you. If you're if you're thinking about buying a business or starting a business, the SBDC is...
Please visit them first.
Yes, go to them first. They have great information. And as a matter of fact, this Tuesday, June 25th, from 6 to 9 p.m., it's a 3-hour class that's going to have all the information you need to know to make this decision.
Get to talk to bankers directly.
That's right. You're going to have bankers there. It's going to have an instruction by SBDC experts. I have bankers there, and then it's going to be a discussion panel, which yours truly will be on.
Yay.
So if you want more information on that.
A lot buying Piedmont Automotive. That took us a year.
But if you want more information on this, go to georgiasbdc.org. It is a small fee to go to the class, but it's well worth it. It will save you 10 times that amount, I'm sure.
It'll save you a lot of grief because your idea might not be very good, and they will tell you.
Well, what they're talking about in this class, too, is whether you should buy or start it from the ground up. And I will tell you, there's the automotive business that we bought, there was no way for the amount that we bought that business for that we could have started that business, bought the land, built the building.
Got the customers.
Well, put the equipment on the inside of it, and then go out and try to market against all the established firms in the area, which, by the way, we just won Best of the Best, again, second row in a year in the 2 years we've been in operation. And Preston is just doing a fantastic job
That's our
out
son.
there. Yeah. And so, but we don't think that we could have been near as successful if we had not gone through the SBDC. Matter of fact, we know that.
And the SBA helped with the loans. What it called? What? Oh, AC's on. Thank you so much. I'm burning up over here.
Yeah, you held up your index finger, and I didn't know. Was he say he's number one, or we have a phone call? So
I was pointing at the air duct.
Okay, that was the third option. Anyway, anyway,
the
SBDC.
And if you can't go to the class, you can't afford the class, you don't have time, you work nights or whatever, just call and make an appointment with the SBDC and talk to them about your idea.
It's no cost.
Everybody has ideas, and they have this giant book of every kind of business that you could open, and they will flip to the page of the book. You say, I want to open a women's boutique. Okay, so let's flip to the page and see how much that usually costs to do and the profitability of that. They have the data on all of it.
The complete demographics so that you know what your competition is. It's a fantastic tool.
Yeah.
And
because it can't just be a good idea.
That's right.
A good idea is only that. It's only an idea. It has to make sense on paper and with the banks, or you will not get a loan.
And if you have a desire to be in business, one of the things you have to understand is when something is not a really stellar, unique idea, you need to really evaluate it to make sure that you can find a space in that marketplace, and they can help you do that.
The two that have amazed me downtown that I really questioned, one is the Reboot, the retro game bar.
And they are doing fantastic.
They're doing fantastic. They have clubs who hang out there. They have people that are playing the games, people that they're not just playing video games, they're playing actual games, like card games and stuff with each other. They're having people that meet up there regularly.
Right.
I mean, they have a regular, they obviously are selling some drinks too or something to make some money. I don't know what their numbers look like, but they're doing fine. And then the other one is the Escape, where you have a team and you go in there and they have you have to figure out how to escape from this room.
And that
escape
has
room
now
or
been
whatever.
franchised.
They have franchised it.
A third-party financier, and so they're doing fantastic.
That just blew my mind.
And I hear it's a lot of fun. We should
really should get a group, and we should do that instead of a Christmas party.
I like that.
That's a great idea.
Yep.
Okay.
Moving on.
Yeah, so market recap. So the market closed at $29.50. It hit a new intraday high yesterday of $29.64. And this is they're blaming it on, giving credit to the fact that Powell, our Fed chair, is talking about lowering interest rates. But companies are doing well. Business is doing well here. People are working. People are making money. Our economy is doing very well. There's a lot of growth. In fact, 1.6 million more jobs than there are people to even fill them. But which I know there are people out there that should be working that aren't, that I would love to shuffle them out of their little nest of comfort that they're in and get them out there in the workforce. And
without being insensitive, there's too many government subsidies that a lot of people say that
they hold them back.
They will lose money if they go to work. Right.
Yes, that's a problem. I don't know how we fix that, but anyways. So crude is up because of all the stuff that's going on in Iran. So the gas prices should be heading up a little bit, and the Strait of Hormuz. I hate all that stuff.
Yeah, everyone just say a prayer that this is not the direction we want to go in.
I don't want to send more people over there.
I don't either.
I don't want our troops over there. I want us to get out of there. Let me see. And then there's a headline: Dow is on track for the best June in 80 years. Who cares? What does that mean to anyone? The news they're scraping so hard to come up with some kind of headline that'll get your attention, that they're going so far to the point where they'll throw the word recession in there, even if there's no sign of a recession, just to get your attention and make you click on something.
You're absolutely right, because the next headline that you read is recession looms near.
Yes.
And so you have to. We say this all the time. You really need to have somebody that is a trusted advisor that can help you break through all of this news that's out there, and that's what we do.
Here's my favorite headline of the week.
Dun, dun, dun.
A third of women admit dating for a free meal. Is that new?
Is that how you got me? Well, you ate half my hamburger on the first date.
Yeah, I did. Eat half your hamburger. I was really hungry. So he takes me on our first date. I was really impressed because he had a new car. I was like, wow,
it was just a Ford Escort.
You were in the military. I didn't know anything about the military. I don't know what rank was.
And your car smoked like a
I had to put
smokehouse.
I had to put 3 quarts of oil in my car every Friday night just so I could get to work.
No kidding.
Every week it was just pouring out, and I couldn't afford to get it fixed. I didn't know what was wrong with it. I was scared to have anybody look at it because I didn't have any money. I'd like $20 to spare.
So I said, let's go on a date. So I pick her up at lunch, and I said, we're going to go to Red Robin. And we go to Red Robin, first date, and she orders this tiny cup of soup. It was like twice the size of a shot glass, okay? Like
it was very tiny.
2 ounces. And I got this big Red Robin double bacon cheeseburger.
With fries. It
was fantastic.
I couldn't afford to eat out.
And I ate the first quarter of the hamburger, eating left to right. And then she says, can I have a bite? Little pitiful thing. And then I said, sure. So I held my hand out to hand her the hamburger. She rolled my hands towards her mouth, her jaws unhinged. And
I ate the center.
She was like a snake eating a goat, But anyway, it was
really good.
She still does that today, as a matter of fact. She eats the heart of my hamburger almost every time.
It's our favorite thing.
Love, man. Love.
But that was, it was so funny. When you're dating, if anybody out there is dating, God, dating is horrible. It's just horrible. And this is the first time I'd ever went out with somebody.
That's not a testimony to our dating.
No, I hadn't finished my sentence. When we were dating, it felt like we'd always known each other. It was like I could eat a bite of his hamburger. I would have never done that with anyone else. On a first date, I would have never done that. Mm-hmm. But it just we just felt like we were already on the same page in the first date. It was crazy. And my dad always told me within 3 dates you're going to know whether this is the one or not. And if it's not, stop wasting your time. And that's what I did.
Just like in business.
Yep.
Cut that product line off and
one
move
date,
on.
2 dates, not right, done. See you later, move on.
All right.
So let's go to the next topic.
All right.
We love this topic, keeping up with the Joneses.
Yeah. All right. Let me present a story to you, okay? But it is a curious fact that as your income grows, so can your expenses. And the more money you earn can be turned into more money spent. But all that spending really necessary? You have to ask yourself that question.
And is it really what you want is the bigger question.
Right. Good point. A Science Daily study found that money makes us happy when it serves to improve our social standing. So when your neighbor, the Joneses, buys that new car, it's easy to think that it may be time to buy one just a little bit nicer, or even just to upgrade your own.
The Corvette syndrome.
Yes, it is. And I loved my Corvette. But this desire to keep up with the Joneses can quickly snowball out of control. Let's take a look at what you might do with the extra money the next time your income goes up. Let's say your neighbor, the Joneses, just remodeled their living room and their kitchen.
Those darn Joneses.
I'll tell you, they're everywhere, too, which cost about $50,000, and you would like to do the same. So that $50,000 you're going to spend, say if you put it into an investment that earned a hypothetical 6% rate, and this is, I think, relatively high for what we're seeing in returns and stuff, but that
at least last year,
$50,000 could more than triple in 20 years. Of course, this is just a hypothetical example and used for illustrative purposes only. It's not representative of any of the specific investments or combination of investments. So you can decorate now, or you can invest that money and have about $160,000 down the road. It's a simple fact that lifestyle inflation can be the enemy of wealth building. So one of the things, when you read stuff like this, you kind of buzz right over lifestyle inflation. So I did some research on that. We want to talk a little bit about that today. I think we all fall prey to that, and I'll just use my watch as an example.
Thanks for not using me.
I had not worn a watch in probably 20 years, and that's because with PDAs, the BlackBerries, the cell phones, and everything, that as we moved up, I didn't need 2 devices that did the same thing. But I still like watches.
I like wearing a watch every day.
And we went to the Berkshire Hathaway conference, was it last year or the year before?
2 years ago.
2 years ago. And they have this giant sale. I don't remember what it's called, but everything that Berkshire Hathaway invest in, they basically come to this giant
convention center,
and they
and
put
everything's
things
cheap
for sale. And all watches were 30% off of retail. And I mean, they had everything from Rolex, Cartier, I mean, you name it. And
people were buying them too in droves.
They were.
It was crazy.
Matter of fact, the $50,000 watches were the first thing to sell out. But I walked around, but I ended up with a nice watch. It wasn't horribly expensive, but could I have done a lesser watch?
Timex.
I could have gone with a Timex, but I didn't. I liked the watch, and I felt like I could afford it, so I bought it. So that's just a small example of where you put your money. But anyway, what is lifestyle inflation? Simply put, lifestyle inflation happens when you increase your household spending as your income grows. A little raise here, a bonus there, and pretty soon your lifestyle begins to expand, and your expenses match the zeros of your income. So it's easy to get caught up in the lifestyle inflation. After all, that's the reason you work. That's the reason you work really hard, is to create a better lifestyle for yourself, your family. You might want a designer handbag as a result of it.
I've never been into that.
I know you have.
I don't get it.
Yeah.
I have a friend, she spends $1,000 on every purse.
Yeah. Wow.
$1,000.
Wow, that's pricey. I mean, we can get her a Kroger bag next time you see her. Anyway, a luxury vacation.
That'd be funny if she started carrying a Kroger bag.
That blue Corvette that I bought,
At least we got it used.
We got it used, exactly. We didn't go out and buy a brand
new.
We
just haven't been extreme. We really don't do that. I mean,
so if you're spending money on all the extras that you're, all the extra money that you're earning, it's nearly impossible to get ahead. And it doesn't matter how much income you're bringing in, because if your income is matching your expenses, you have no way to save for the future. So lifestyle inflation can affect anyone. So don't think just because you're making $500,000 a year that you're exempt from this conversation, because you're not. Sherri, when you worked at Consumer Credit, you had Delta Airline pilots who were making $500,000 who were coming in to file bankruptcy. That was a precursor to filing bankruptcy then.
Yep.
So, the GoBanking.com had a 2017 study that said that 50% of Americans have less than $1,000 in savings for a rainy day fund. And we just covered that a couple of weeks ago, talking about how basically Americans just have forgotten about that rainy day fund. And
they just use a credit card.
To it. Right. We need to get back to it. So where's the money going instead? It's going to hefty mortgages, vacations, fine dining, the wardrobe. And millennials fresh out of college have the same problem that's going on, because not only do they have this desire to have a nicer house, a nicer life, the nicer things that they haven't had for, at least through their college days, if their parents weren't, subsidizing that. Now they have their student debt. They're having to get into a house. And we were talking about this morning. We said, did we really fall into that trap? I said, well, think about every house that we bought and rebuilt and flipped. The next house was bigger and bigger and bigger, but we always bought the houses on the cheap, like foreclosures.
Fixed them up ourselves. But we still wanted the nice house in a nice neighborhood.
That's right.
And part of it was because when you have kids, you want to be in the right school district and be in a nice neighborhood. And so I think some of this is just normal. I mean, it's normal thinking, but we didn't need the house that was that big. We really should have bought a smaller house.
And the one of the things that's really driving this is social media, the news, the cell
advertising. Peer pressure is driving it. It's always driven it.
We told our daughter-in-law that she needed to go on a Pinterest diet, and now she has, and which is a wonderful thing, because it's the good idea fairy that flies out of your phone at you. Oh, look at that! I'd love to have this. I can make that. Yeah, you can. Then you got to go buy all the equipment to make it. Like T-shirt presses or whatever else. But one of the first things that you need to do, and it's simple to winning with money, is you have to make a budget. And I know you've heard Sherri talk about this over and over again, but it is the foundation of you getting ahead.
You have to track your spending for 30 days. July 1st, or start today, get a piece of paper and do it pencil and paper. You can't do it on your computer. You can't do it on your phone. You can't do it by credit card. You have to create categories and physically every day write down any spending of any kind, whether it was a debit, a credit charge, or cash.
I know that you believe in the pencil paper, and I do too.
No, it is the truth.
Well, hear me out. Okay, it's and I'm going to cover this. There's a website. It's a Dave Ramsey website, and it's an app that you can download on your phone. And it's deeper in this article. I'll get to it in a second. But I do agree with you. Taking the time to write it on a piece of paper. And
Can I explain?
Yes, absolutely.
So it's no different than keeping a food diary. If you're on Weight Watchers, you keep a food diary, and every time you eat something or consume something, you write it down, and it makes you more conscious of what you just ate, which makes you make better decisions, and it's no different with money. When I started doing this, the very first time I did this, about 2 weeks into tracking all my spending, I was in Kroger, and this is a long time ago. This is back in the like 1992 or something. I mean, back when I was at Consumer Credit, probably even earlier than that. So I have my little spending diary on the counter with a pen. So as soon as I walk in the door, I can stop and write down what I've spent on anything I bought that day. I'm in Kroger 2 weeks into tracking my spending, and I reach for a bag of chips. And my brain said, and I would use this thing like, oh, we have a teenage son, I'm going to buy some chips, tortilla chips. Mm-hmm. And my brain said, you're not buying those for Preston. You're buying those for yourself, and you don't need to be eating that. And I literally stood there with the bag in my hand going, holy cow, I have been fooling myself saying, oh, I'm buying these because Preston has friends over, but I really wanted Tostitos. I just wanted them, and I don't need to eat them. It's not a need. Mm-hmm. It's a want, and I put them back because I don't need to be eating that kind of stuff.
Right.
And so it was like my brain started working for me and reminding me when I was doing something stupid or kind of thoughtless or subversive to where I was going.
And I wonder whether the today's generation, the millennials, would much rather have an app.
I don't care.
Well,
the physical act of writing it down changes how your brain, react to that.
You don't think
the app is not the same? No, it is not. It is scientifically proven. Absolutely.
All right. Okay. I'm not going to argue with you on the air about that. But
I will argue.
I know you will.
It's true.
There is an app on Dave Ramsey. If you want to check it out, I can't find it in my article here, but it's very good. And every purchase, you set up budget categories in this app. So
if that's the only way people can do it, at least do that.
Exactly. That's what I'm trying to say is that the millennials may not want a piece of paper and a pencil carrying around with them all day long, but they have their phone with them, and this is a great way for them to do it.
See, I tell people just to have it on the counter where you're going to see it, and when you come in, you write down at the end of every day, mm-hmm. and by the end of the month, of 30 days of writing down what you spend, you become so consciously aware of every dime you spend. It creates an awareness in your mind where you're actually consciously thinking. You're not just going through the motion. Like these people, I saw this woman yesterday at Kroger. I like to shop on Fridays for the next week, and I cook on the weekends, and we have all our food prepared. I see this woman, and her shopping cart is full of frozen meals and sodas. That's all she's buying. There wasn't a piece of fruit or vegetable or water, nothing in there. It was all sodas and frozen food.
So what's that got to do with the budget?
Well, what did that cost? It's expensive.
Yeah.
It's a very expensive way to live. And I thought, what kind of income does she have that she can afford to live on pre-processed everything all day, every day? I mean, or is that what she's feeding her whole family? She doesn't cook? Mm-hmm. I don't know. I don't understand. I don't know.
But anyway.
I'm getting off in the weeds.
Yeah, it's okay. But what you really need to do is create a zero-based budget. That way you put everything in, including the money you're going to stick aside for a rainy day. And the nice thing about a budget is if you have it set up so that your expenses are going to match your income on a zero-based budget with your savings and everything in it, it actually is a little freeing because if you walk into a store like you're talking about and you see a pair of shoes or, a different item that that you shouldn't be buying, that you shouldn't do it, that budget will just jump right out in your face. And it hopefully will stop you from doing that. But that's the beauty of a budget. It will help you make better decisions.
Well, put you in control. You're in control of your future.
Because you have to remember, debt is easy. The repayment of it is the hard part.
It's so expensive.
Has anybody ever had a credit card from Sears?
Oh, God.
And you remember those where
No, this is a great story. This is before I met you.
Yeah.
This is back in 1980. When did we get married? 85?
83.
We got married in
85.
So I met you in 1985. I'm working in a mental health hospital. I don't make a lot of money. I'm driving a car that bleeds oil that I have to put 3 quarts in every Friday, and I have about $20 left over at the end of every week for food because all I pay is rent, utilities, gasoline, and I had a gym membership that was paid up. I didn't even have that expense. I had no money. I mean, there was no extra money. So my car battery dies, and I didn't know what to do. And so I went to Sears. They charged me over $100 to install a battery in my car because I didn't even know. My dad never taught me that. and I didn't know where to go. I didn't know if there was an O'Reilly's, or I don't even know if that stuff, Advanced Auto Parts.
Did you put it on a Sears credit card?
They let me get one that day. That was my first credit card. They let me get a credit card to put the battery on. The battery was like $109 in 1985.
You got a good one.
I guess.
Yeah.
I don't know. I didn't know anything about batteries.
The gold
I
standard.
hate Sears to this day because of this. So then they gave me a credit line. So what did I do? I went in the store because now I have a credit card with a credit line of like another $100, and I bought a pair of shoes and a shirt or something because I could. And then the bill comes, and it's like, this is bad. This is a very bad idea. That was my first lesson of how dangerous credit was if you're a broke person.
You know, credit is
So
not...
I paid it off as soon as I did, and I never used it again. And I still hate Sears.
And I had one that, I fought it. But, you know, when you pay minimums on a credit card like that,
it's a nightmare.
Never get ahead. So
you can't
get
ahead.
But you can use a credit card. I mean, we do. We try to charge.
We pay
everything
it off every month.
We pay it off every month. But if you have problems with constraint or restraint, it's a bad thing. But if you don't, and you can pay these things off every month, get a credit card that pays you a little something back. Like at our automotive garage, we have a Spark card. And
that's by
a Capital One.
Capital One.
And we get 2% back. And we use I
think Discover Card gives cash back. You can go to Clark.com, Clark Howard's website, and he does all the research on the best credit cards for the points back and all that kind of stuff.
Well, it's a really good thing, but if you're not good with managing that debt, don't do it. But you know, if you...
And the other card that we love is a Southwest Airlines credit card, because we fly when we go see our daughter in Colorado. And so if you apply for a Southwest credit card, you get 2 free round-trip coach tickets. And so we've done this 3 different times and gotten free tickets every time.
And we also rotate that card and use the Marriott card. That way we get build up points for the hotels.
Right.
And, I mean, it's been years since we paid, you know, for...
That whole vacation to St. Martin, we stayed in a Marriott for free.
But look,
anyways,
if you can get... if you can get your debt behind you, then you can start pursuing your lifetime goals, and that is a big deal. And, you know, everyone wants to be a millionaire. They even create TV shows about that. And there are stories about, I know there's a Battleboro, where Debbie and Jamie live.
In Vermont.
Bernieville. There was a story about a school janitor that retired a millionaire 8 times over, and when he died, no one knew that he had a penny into his name, really, because he wore, you know,
the same clothes every
day. He had a button fell off his jacket. He used a safety pin to hold it on, and he drove secondhand cars. He never bought a new car. He's not saying that he bought a piece of junk and couldn't afford to keep it running, but when he died, he left $8.8 million between the library and the local hospital, and his entire life, he was a janitor, and janitors don't make a ton of money. So, I mean, even in his 90s, he was cutting his own firewood. Robust little fella, you know, but that's a great story. But I've heard other stories throughout
my grandmother, when she died, she was this little teeny tiny lady with the long gray hair that she wore in a bun on her head. Very, very religious, very dedicated to her church. And she lived in a little bitty apartment, and the apartment complex she lived in had this huge garden area. So she was able to go out and grow all her own vegetables, and every time you went to her house, it smelled like cooked vegetables, because that's what she lived on.
That sounds nice.
And it was wonderful. She was a sweet person, and everybody thought she was broke. When she died, she left enough money, like $500,000 to her church, to buy a new organ.
Wow.
A huge one.
Okay, well, the last part of this is just don't fall into the trap of letting others dictate the way you spend your money. And the truth about the Joneses is they're probably broke, and they're just probably trying to keep up with the Smiths. You know, so just live your own life.
It's a cycle.
It's a cycle. It's a vicious cycle. So spend your own money the way you want it done. Make it count. Don't just buy junk that you're going to end up throwing out to Goodwill.
So a couple of tips if you have teenagers. So Preston, we moved to Warner Robins. We moved into a nice neighborhood, and Preston got on the golf team. And it became kind of overnight moving down here, he became like a popular guy. And he wanted to wear polo shirts every day, because that was the thing at that time, was to wear a polo shirt and khaki shorts. The shorts and the shoes were no big deal. Polo shirts are very expensive, $60. And I told him, I said, I'm not paying that for a shirt. It's ridiculous. So we went to Ross and got not secondhand, but the seasonal, where they dump their seasonal stuff at Ross. What's the other place?
And we went to Tanger.
We went to Tanger
on
Outlet
sale
Mall,
days.
And we went to the Georgia Outlet Mall in Dahlonega every day after Thanksgiving.
Which is always a load of fun. There's nobody there.
So we would go up there really early in the morning. We would get there. They open at midnight, the night before our Thanksgiving Eve. And so we get there in the morning. You go to the visitor center, and if you have a military ID, you get a free coupon thing for like 10% extra off. And so we would go to the
Polo Outlet.
Polo Outlet and hit the clearance racks.
American Eagle, all those ones.
But
that
the
he was
Polo
wanting.
Outlet, the clearance racks were half price, plus we get an extra 10% off, plus because it was a holiday, sometimes they had an extra whatever off.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where we get, and so he was able to wear those shirts, but I never paid full price.
But another way to teach your kids about money is like what my parents did for me, is they, going up through grade school and everything, they spent X number of dollars on clothes. When I got to high school, or to the point that I wanted to start having nicer clothes and, being able to fit in socially, they said, okay, Randy, we're going to give you the same amount of money that we were spending before for the Garanimals that you were wearing. And if you want something nicer, then
you figure it out.
You figure it out. You go get a job, cut grass, whatever. And it really made me very conscious about the money that I was spending, because once it became my money, then I was a lot more frugal than when I was just using theirs.
And that was leading me to the next one. Senior year, I looked at what we spent on our daughter, like hair care, shampoo, personal items, clothing. I went through and I added up a year, and I broke it down to a monthly. And we sat down with her and we said, you're a senior. Next year you're going to go off to college. You need to be able to manage your own money. So what we're going to do this year is we're going to give you this dollar amount every month, and that is going to pay for everything that you have to have. Every haircut, every piece of clothing, every makeup, all of it. This is all going to have to fit within this dollar amount. There's no more. Don't ask me for a dime, because I'm already giving you enough that you shouldn't need to ask me for a dime.
I remember you doing that. Did she buy the same stuff she was using at home?
No. What does she do? She always had to have the nicest of this and lotion and shampoo, because she had colored hair and she had to wear a certain... That means like me. I have to use a certain shampoo or my hair will just be a frizzy mess. And so I have to buy nicer. I can't just wear generic dollar store shampoo or my hair would look like it would be a dried out... I probably wouldn't have any hair by now if I was
like me.
I'd look like you. But anyway, so what does she do? She takes the money, and all of a sudden now she's Miss Frugal.
Yeah.
And she goes to the dollar store and buys all of her personal care items at the dollar store, and got that horrible shampoo, and her hair looked like a giant frizz ball.
And now I'm.
And so she learned.
It is funny.
It was a fun lesson, but at first I'm like, it kind of made me mad. It's like, here, when it's my money, it doesn't matter, and you want the best stuff. Now that it's your money, you're going to be cheaping out on yourself. I mean, but she had to find a balance.
And now let's roll 12 years forward, okay? I think several shows ago we told you that Shelby and Kyle are living in Denver, Colorado, and we made a suggestion to them, because Kyle was just burned out in his Department of Corrections job, that there's another business opportunity he might want to look at. Well, they went down that route, and they chose one of the branches off of this business, and he chose one small aspect of it, and it's sewer scoping. And, they were concerned about bills to start with, but now that he's in this business, he's making good money now.
3 months into it, which is
it.
Really crazy.
He's been out there beating the bushes and doing the right things. But Shelby had amassed some money, a significant little stockpile of cash in her savings account, and she bought herself a good used car. And then Kyle had already had a new car, which they purchased 2 years prior, and he's got this sewer scope that he's riding around in the car with, which doesn't have a closed trunk. And he comes home one day and says, I got to buy a truck. This stuff stinks. He goes, I went out and shopping for a truck today, and I can buy a new one for $30-something thousand. And Shelby...
She hit the roof.
And so being more budget minded now, she's seeing what she can do with her money and how she's going to be able to retire down the road. She's already looking that route, and I guess her and Kyle had a kind of a heart-to-heart meeting, and she set goals for him. If you make this amount of clients, this amount of money, then
we'll go look at trucks.
But we're paying these bills off first. And
they have a paying off her vehicle first, His truck is the next, and they plan on putting their house on the market in 2 years. But they have like a long-range vision of where they want to go.
And it's just fantastic to see.
Yeah, it's really great.
It goes back to what we were talking about.
But it starts when they're little.
Yes.
And you have to be the example for them so they get it.
And this goes back to what one of the headlines in this article was: leave lifestyle inflation behind and go after your goals. But you are listening to Your Money with Randy and Sherri Goss, and we are with Rosenberg Financial Group. We have offices in Macon and Warner Robins. Our phone number is 478-922-8100.
Free consultations?
Yes, free consultations. Come in, and
I did 3 this week.
And no kidding, we don't chase you out of the office. We say this all the time. We don't follow up with you.
We don't sell anything.
And we don't sell anything. If you want to become a client, we'll take a look at everything with you, and then we have quarterly meetings so you're on the same page as us. And it is a much better. We feel that it's a much better business model for this kind of business.
We're fee-based money managers.
That's right. Let's see. We have a website, retirerelax.com. And when you go to that website, a box will pop up, and it asks for just a little bit of information, and you get signed up on our Facebook feed and our email trails that we send out. And we would love for you to join us on this information flow that we're passing out. We don't bug you from it, and if you get too much information, let us know, or you can just cancel out of it. Anyway.
So one last thing.
Yes.
So I did a talk to a government agency that was doing an offsite in Callaway Gardens a couple weeks ago, and it was really fun. And it was about the life book. So I have a compliance-approved program that I do. It takes about 45 minutes, and that gives very little time, a little bit of time for questions throughout it. But it's about the basic estate planning things that every person needs to consider and understand. And so I've done this for churches, for clubs, all over the place. I update the information every year, and so that's one thing. And then another program that we have is maximizing Social Security. So if you want me to come and talk to a group, I don't charge. I'm not gonna drive to Florida to do it. I had somebody actually ask me last year, and I'm like, no, I don't think I'm driving to Florida to do the Lifebook program. You can just download the pages on the internet. But
oh, before we go on, I'd like to. Steve is not here. He's
not.
In case you didn't notice. Anyway, he's doing at a charitable thing, Pedal with a Purpose to End Alzheimer's, which is a good thing.
And the heat, it's horribly hot.
Yeah, it's horrible. And we'd like to say good morning to a new listener, Wendy. And I won't give your last name, but you know who you are.
Yay, Wendy. She's great. Okay, so this last 2 weeks, I did reviews and free consultations, and almost every person I saw, it was just weird. Almost every person I saw was dealing with the dilemma of when this place that we're living gets to be too much, too expensive, or too much work, or I'm sick of 100 acres, I'm sick of my 8 goats, I'm sick of my 10 acres, I'm sick of my whatever I have going on. I don't want this anymore because it's too much maintenance. Where on earth do I go? And everybody's asking me, where do we go? And the only person, the couple, that absolutely knew where they wanted to go is wherever they want. They're going to actually become full-time campers.
Awesome.
They're going to upgrade their RV. They're selling everything. But they're like, where does our stuff go? What do we do with all this house full of stuff? And so, if you go to call Salvation Army, they'll come out with a truck and 2 guys and just walk around pointing at your stuff. That's
right.
What I did when we downsized. They didn't even scratch one wall, and they had to haul heavy things downstairs.
Salvation Army, Goodwill. I mean, there are people out there who would love to have your goods lightly used.
Yep.
Stuff.
Crisis Line and Safe House is another good one. They have an entire warehouse. And so
the Battered Women's Shelter?
That's the Battered Women's Shelter. And so when these women, when they transition them into their own apartment and move them on into a safe place, they use as donated furniture to furnish their apartment so they don't move in and have nothing. So that's a really good cause. Rescue Mission is another one. So if you've never been to the Macon Rescue Mission, you should really stop in or call them and get a tour because it blew my mind. I donated a computer and a printer a few years ago. I was so impressed. I was upgrading my computer, and so they were so happy to get that equipment because they're trying to save every penny.
Where's that located, Sherri?
It's right down Martin Luther King. Wait a minute. No, it's by the prison.
By the prison?
It's over by the prison on 2nd Street.
Okay.
Yes.
All right.
Okay, it's phenomenal. So when you go in there, everybody who lives there has a job. They're not just sitting around. They all work. So they have a donation center that they run. There's guys that are at the front counter that they run. They greet you when you come in. And there's a guy who runs the whole thing. I think it's still a guy. But one half is women and children. One half is men. It's all separated. Everybody has a job. The day I went there, they were painting the building.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody was working, or they were working in the kitchen preparing the food, or they were washing dishes. And so everybody gets up in the morning. Everybody has to make their beds. When I had my tour, everybody's shoes are like lined up, all their clothes. Everything is spotlessly neat. It is mandatory.
That's fantastic.
And then if you're going through a drug or alcohol rehab, you have mandatory classes you have to attend every day. There are mandatory things you have to do every day to stay on track with this organization to get you to the next better place. And it's just phenomenal. But when they move, the day I was there was a young lady running through the hall just screaming. And I looked at the lady in charge of the women, and she said she's getting her first apartment today. She's moving out.
Oh, it was a happy scream.
Yes.
Okay.
She had, oh, God, sorry. So they helped her get a job, and they helped her find an apartment, and they were moving her into an apartment, and they were going to go pick out furniture out of where they store their used furniture that they get donated.
Yeah.
And the lady was so ecstatic that she was moving on with her life.
That's
so
great.
There's really great organizations that you can help, and people that need help. So don't feel like you're just giving up your stuff for nothing. You're changing people's lives by these donations.
You know, I know where you're going in the next article, and we're going to be talking about how boomers are reinventing their retirement age, and Sherri's talking about downsizing. Tell you what, if you have an idea of what you would like, if you have to downsize, give us a call and tell us, because we keep talking about this over and over again. That's a recurring conversation in our own home. Let us know what you would want to do.
So in this article, they're talking about how boomers are reinventing retirement living and how people have made all of these retirement villages, like the continuing care and all of this stuff, and boomers don't want it. They don't want it at all. They want to live in a mixed-use thing with mixed ages of people. Like us. We like being around young people, old people. We like being around. I love looking out the window and seeing college students walking their dogs, people jogging. I like seeing a mixture of all of that. And we really are that. So we can walk to a restaurant. We have that lifestyle now.
Right.
So, but that's what other people are wanting, and there's nowhere to go to get it. So it says today's target market for senior housing comprises a large and influential demographic. The number of households with people age 80 and over jumped 71% from 4.4 million in 1990 to 7.5 million in 2016. As baby boomers age, the number of households in this group will more than double by 2037. And so until recently, U.S. senior housing solutions have largely consisted of cookie-cutter developments demanding big upfront deposits from residents who might eventually face a round of stress in seeking high-level and expensive nursing home care. And so it goes down that road.
So do these places like you were just talking about, you have to pay to get into the community, but you might have to move out and forfeit all that money you just put into that house?
No, you pay like $100,000 or $250,000 for Carlisle to move in. That's a deposit.
Okay.
And then you pay a monthly fee to live there, and you can start on independent living, and then you pay a certain amount for that, and then if you move into assisted living, you pay a certain amount for that, and then if you have dementia, you move into that care level, then you pay for that every month, and when you die, and then you pay for other services like haircuts and all that stuff on top of that, and when you pass, your estate gets back the majority of what your deposit was.
Okay, I didn't realize they got money back. Okay.
Yeah, but they're saying that boomers aren't wanting that. And I understand it. I don't want to be around only people my age in this compound. I don't want, and you can't walk to anything. You have a restaurant. You have a restaurant, a bar, the gym. You can get your hair cut. It's all centrally located, but you're all within the same compound, seeing the same people all the time. Mm-hmm. I don't know that that's healthy. That's not what I want. I'd rather have a mixture.
I wish there was some place downtown that
mixed use,
pool, the whole 9 yards,
yes.
But a larger compound, so you're not just with, like we live in a loft building that has really 6 owners in it, and I mean, so if we were just in a loft and we didn't have the downtown area to go walking around in, that would get really old. We wouldn't be there.
Yeah.
So.
And Dr. Harper, vein specialist at the South, which I got to give a plug. He did surgery on my legs 4 weeks ago, and they look amazing. You hear the ads and you wonder what's that about. Well, they're top of the line. I've never seen anything like it. But he's building a condo complex next door in a building that they own. So if you want to get on the pre-sale list, you should call Vein Specialists of the South and tell them you're interested in looking at their condo plans if you want to live downtown and own your property. He's the only other thing down here that will be like that. Everything else is rental. But anyways, people are wanting something different. Everyone I'm talking to is struggling with what to do and where to go. The most confident people I have are the ones that are going to camp full time. They have the whole plan laid out. They know everything of what they're going to do. They know what it's going to cost. They're going to be able to cut back on how much money they spend because they won't have the house and the maintenance. I mean, and they are going to be very successful at it because they've been practicing it for the last year. They camp all the time. They get along with each other, and they can be in a small enclosed space. I couldn't do it. I can't do the RV. I love you to pieces, but I'd be going nuts. I don't care how big the forest is. I don't know. Cooking over a fire, that's good for a weekend, but living that way takes a unique person.
Yes.
And to see a couple who enjoys it and can enjoy it together it blew my mind, and I'm like, you guys are going to be so good at this. They should probably write a book about it.
But, I think being able to relocate on a regular basis and just go to different fun places on a whim, I think that would keep it kind of fresh.
So it says transportation on demand like Uber, dining on demand like Grubhub, online learning are all trends that really play well into the senior market. It says with food delivery, who says a senior living community even has to have a kitchen or a fleet of vans? So everything is shifting. So you got to think hard about what is really important to you. And for most of my clients, family. Family's number one, being close to the grandkids, but they don't want to move in with them. I had a lady in the other day. This was so funny. Her son just built a new house. She loves her grandkids. She sees them all the time. She loves spending time all the time with them. And I said, well, they built the house with a room for you. Are you thinking about moving in there? She's like, there is no way. She said, I like my space. And my favorite thing is she had certain music rock groups that she likes. My favorite thing is to turn on my CDs loud. I like to play really loud music. And if I lived in their house, I couldn't do that. She goes, my favorite thing is driving down the freeway 85 to 90 miles an hour with the top down and the music blaring.
How old is this person?
She's 80-something, like 80.
Love it. Love it. This could be like
fun.
Payback. Move in with their kids and play loud music until
there
midnight.
You go. And have wild parties.
And leave stuff out in the kitchen. Eat all the cheese, drink all the milk.
Oh, my gosh. So
what else you got?
Okay, so
we have about 8 minutes left.
God, this went fast. We talk a lot, don't we?
Yes, we do.
So this business with China and the trade war, it's hopefully this week something will happen in that direction. I think Trump's going to want to get something done before he really starts ramping up his reelection campaign. So I'm guessing something's going to get resolved here pretty soon. Mexico agreed to that pact this week. Their Senate signed off on the whole deal, which I don't even know what's in it. I haven't seen any of it. I tried looking it up. It's nowhere. But here's what's happening in China. Because of the tariffs, entire companies are moving their supply chain away from China to Southeast Asia. So Apple intends to restructure its manufacturing operations even if a resolution is reached. And here's the point of the article. The point of the tariffs on China were to make companies move their supply chain away from China, to put the hurt on China, to force them to come to the table and negotiate with us and to stop stealing our intellectual property. That's at the root of it.
And it's not just going to other South.
Yes, true.
It's South.
Some of it's coming back here.
Some of it's coming back here. There's a Texas moving back. I think it's Black & Decker's moving back to Fort Worth, Texas.
I'm going to cover all of that.
Okay.
So the White House is moving forward with more tariffs on another $300 billion. And so what this does is it makes these countries go, okay, we're going to move our supply chain. Plus, China, having things made in China is no longer cheap anymore. Their wages, they've had a huge inflation and their wages are very high. And so if you move to some place like Vietnam, the wages are half the price. And Vietnam has no tariffs. So GoPro is moving to Mexico this year. Hasbro is moving to Mexico, Vietnam, and India. Steve Madden is moving to Cambodia. Stanley Black & Decker is moving to Fort Worth, Texas. They're going to hire 500 people for a $90 million plant and employ a lot of robots and advanced technology. Brooks Running Shoes is moving to Vietnam. Whirlpool is coming back to the U.S. from China. Intel is reviewing its supply chain and whether they can even shift out of China. They're struggling with the whole thing, and there's a lot of companies struggling because for some companies it's very easy, but if you have certain materials that you source from China and that's your best place to get it, some companies are struggling to find the supply chain of materials. And so it's It's a big problem, but China's going to feel the pain. And here's the big thing. Once you move your company to Vietnam and you're saving tons of money because it's so much cheaper and Vietnam treats you right and they're not ripping you off in every direction and messing with you all the time, why would you ever go back to China? And that is what they're starting to see now, is that's going to really put the hurt on China, is the not just who's moving, but the potential of who else could move. And so that's a wake-up call. And so hopefully this week they come to the table, we get something done, because we need this trade war off the table. We need the tariffs off the table. And we need to get back to just business as usual, because it's just jacking up the market in every direction, because nobody knows what the tariffs are going to hit.
Well, between that and what's going on over in
Iran,
it
that
really
doesn't help at all.
Is really making the markets jump around.
So Apple's looking at shifting up to around a third of their production into Southeast Asia. Foxconn is moving to Taiwan. No, they're Taiwan-based, and they're talking about moving, I think, to Vietnam. Let me see here. Let's see. China. Apple relies on China for about a fifth of its total sales. And they have 3 million people they employ in China for their supply chain. And that's a big thing to try to move, because China does have a vast resource of people that can do the types of the skills that they train their people to do, the kind of things that can make the phones and those tiny technical types of stuff.
Right.
They've done a good job of producing enough employees. Foxconn, which assembles iPhones, iPads, and Macs, said this month it is ready to shift production for Apple out of China. Let's see. I think that's enough of that.
Yep.
And I'm not going to talk about how China's ripping us off. I'm sick of the whole thing. Oh, one last thing before we go.
How much time we got? CT, what's the time hack?
So one last thing before we go. There's a CBD distributor that's opened in Macon by River Crossing Mall. There's another one, I think, over by Coliseum. There's another one in Warner Robins on Russell Parkway. Ulta Beauty Salon and Store is talking about carrying CBD products. Kroger came out this week and said they're going to carry them. Everyone's going to carry this stuff because people are piling into it, because the word on the street is, if no matter what your problem is, it's going to be solved by CBD oil. So Randy has a bunch of issues, which I won't go into. Neuropathy, one of them. Pain, neuropathy, all sorts of stuff they can't fix. And so I went to the store, and the guy's like, oh, yeah. I told him about your peripheral neuropathy, and he goes, oh, yeah, you need to buy the 500 milligram and take a dropper every morning with food. So I bought it. I paid $70. It's like, if it would help you with anything that you have going on, I would pay $70 for that. So I did. You used an entire bottle of it, and nothing happened.
Well, actually, I didn't use the entire bottle initially, and then you found you went to the pharmacy. I
talked to a pharmacist in Warner Robins, and she said that they're selling a pharmaceutical grade, and she told me this over-the-counter stuff is trash.
Yeah,
don't waste your money.
She explained the percentages in each
the strength.
And so one day I just said, if that's the case, this is mostly olive oil. So I just drank the rest of the bottle to find out, and nothing happened. So my lips were very smooth.
So the study that just came out this week finds CBD could cause liver damage. So they did this test on mice, and they tracked the mice, and they said that CBD caused an elevated risk of liver toxicity. And if people, it's just like if you take Tylenol. I mean, too much Tylenol can cause liver damage.
And I understand here, we're not anti-CBD, okay? It's just that what we're trying to point out here is everyone's jumping into the market.
Yes.
And everyone's selling a product that they say is going to cure everything, from ingrown toenails to whatever else. But you have to be careful, because this is exactly what happens in so many arenas, is that people come out with the next new idea, and they are just trying to make money on this. And
the FDA does not review this stuff, and so they can say whatever they want. They can tell you anything they want to tell you of what it's going to do for you. They're not regulated, is what I'm trying to say. So the latest study also finds that CBD has the potential for herbal and drug interaction. So it could cause drugs you're taking that you need to take for something that's going on in your system to not be as effective. So be careful with supplements. Be careful. The FDA does not review any of them. Any of them can cause an interaction. interaction in your body. And so don't waste your money until you've really done research and maybe talked to your doctor and really seriously thought about it, because they're going to tell you that this is going to fix everything in your life.
We were in Colorado a couple of years ago and went to one of these local markets, and it's one of the ones that Shelby really likes to go to because they have the best fruits and vegetables and everything. And there was a lady there selling CBD oil, and she had this laminated picture of a body, and it had all the nerves and everything, and everything you can possibly imagine. This was the cure for it.
Yeah, migraines to insomnia to depression to neuropathy. And I bought some cream because she sold me on this, and it did smell really good. And I got it home, and I looked at the ingredients, and there's no CBD oil in it. It was a total scam.
So
it said it on the label.
And that's really the reason we're talking about this.
Yep.
Watch out for this stuff. Don't get scammed. We did.
Don't waste your money.
So we are under a minute, Sherri. You want to tell everybody who we are?
So we're Randy and Sherri Goss. Steve Rosenberg is out of town. He's normally here. We are with Rosenberg Financial Group. We are fee-based money managers. Learn more about us by going to retirerelax.com. Lots of free reports. Sign up for Randy's news feed, videos and such that will come out to you. You can like us on Facebook, Retire Relax. Is that where we are on Facebook?
Yes, retirerelax.com.
Okay, great. Have a great weekend and stay cool.
Stay cool.
The views expressed on the show should not be construed directly or indirectly as an offer to buy or sell any securities or services mentioned herein. Investing is subject to risk, including loss of principal invested. Past performance is not a guarantee of future results. No strategy can assure a profit nor protect against loss. Please note that individual situations can vary. Therefore, the information should only be relied upon when coordinated with individual professional advice. Securities are offered through Royal Alliance Associates Incorporated, member FINRA and SIPC. Advisory services are offered through Rosenberg Financial Group, a registered investor advisor not affiliated with Royal Alliance Associates Incorporated. Offices are located at 2517 Moody Road, Warner Robins, and 4875 Riverside Drive, Suite 201 in Macon. Phone numbers are 922-8100 and 741-4457.